welcome back to Open. Our next guest is a Bronx native whose mission is to give audiences his perspective through words and sound. Growing up in the Bronx wasn't easy for him, but he believes everybody has an important story to tell. And as an artist, writer, storyteller, and producer, he tries to paint a picture through words to share his point of view with his album Inspired by a Butterfly. That was just recently released. Please welcome rapper and musician Alex Villafana.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Did I say that right? Is it Villafana or Villafana?
So, so the correct pronunciation is Vijafanya,
Uh huh.
but I Americanized it just to make it easier for people to say.
I hear you. I hear you. You know, you got tired of people butchering up the pronunciation of your last name, pero
But
you
it's
know,
actually it's actually my mother's last name. It's not my last name, but
it's
I did it to represent her in a better way that I thought was more creative.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome. So, thank you for sharing that. It's your name, but it's not your name.
it's
But you inherited it, regardless if it's your actual birth, name on your birth
hmm
certificate. So it is your name.
exactly
It is your name. It is your name. So,
for sure.
right, right, right. But let's talk about it, right? Because we're talking about words here and there, right? Beginning with the name, beginning with excuse me, the pronunciation of the name, right?
Yeah.
The beginning with the fact that you've chosen to uh, simplify it for people so that they're not messing it up. Now, is that because you are just blending in, or is it because you just got tired of correcting people?
So basically, I used to go by a different name. This was when like I started my whole rap career and stuff like that. But
Right.
it wasn't a real representation of who I was. So so when my birthday came up, this was a few years ago. I had a conversation with my mom, and I looked at her straight up in her face. I just said, "Hey, um, how do you feel about me using your last name as just a part of my artistry and representing you because you're the reason why I'm here. Like grew up with a single parent, Section 8 housing, all this other stuff. So you're the reason why this story is. You're the reason why I'm able to make this story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I asked her that, and she gave me her blessings, and ever since then, it's been Alex Villafana all the way through.
All right. So your boys call you a mama's boy?
Oh hell yeah! I say that proudly too.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Now, before we got on air, we started talking a little bit about what inspired the your new release, Inspired by a Butterfly, and you shared some
Mhm.
really profound details within your experience, and I would love for us to just kind of have a conversation about that. September that just passed, right? This past month is, in case you're unaware, is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and so whenever we have artists that are using music and or their writing as outlets, I always love talking about the just mental wellness.
Yeah. So basically, what started the whole thing was well, I was starting on Inspired by a Butterfly. Like it was a really long process to get this album done. And so what happened was at the time I had gone through like a really bad breakup, and while it happened, I started reading up this book that I had a while back called The Soul of a Butterfly by Muhammad Ali. Ironically, it's this book right here that I
Yeah, I see you
is
use
right
it
next
as a
to me.
reference. It's like
and
accessible. He's like, yo, this is my reference guy.
it's the reference guy right here. And I was just reading it through, and just reading about his life and his experiences. What he learned throughout the years growing up in Kentucky, and coming up as just the greatest heavyweight boxer to ever live, or the greatest boxer to ever live. I was also able to see the humble side of everything. So that inspired me to like say if I was going through something right now, and he was able to get through what all all of everything that he went through, I could do the same. So this is what inspired me to write that. But it started off with like a trilogy in a sense. Like I started off with the process of how a butterfly comes in. I
Mm-hmm.
started off with the cocoon with the caterpillar, then the cocoon, and then it just went ahead and blossomed to the butterfly.
Well, I want to just clarify for our viewers, I wasn't implying anything related to suicide. I just am
Hmm.
really adamant about us having these conversations about mental wellness. And since you mentioned the breakup and the depression, I think the more we have these conversations, the more we normalize, recognizing that we're all in this together. And
Hmm.
that's how beautiful art is made. Hence, referencing the inspired by a butterfly, right? Because you had to go to a bit of a dark place in order to get into that chrysalis and then blossom,
And then blossom, yeah.
right, and transform,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, it was a process. It was a really long process, but thankfully, through art and through just a great support team and um, just I want to say perseverance and if I could say this, I was probably a little bit selfish as well for my own for me, just because in my mind I knew there was there was something greater for me. So I in my mind I'm like, nah, I can't let this
Right.
backtrack me
Right.
anymore. So
But you know what I appreciate about the conversation we've been having is like, I'm keeping it real.
hmm
I was really distraught over a breakup, and to the
yeah,
point that I got depressed, to the point that I had to figure out how to get out of that. And you found this book, and from that book you were able to now craft yourself and recreate and find your own therapy, right, through your writing, and now you're sharing that with the world. It's a beautiful story.
yeah, yeah. It's just through writing and through just just wanting to be a better person and be a better artist in any way. That's what fueled me to get out of through all of that, get out all of that. I mean, it isn't easy.
Yeah.
Depression is never like it hits different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, you have to see that there's something beautiful that could come out of that could come out through all of that. But there's always people here that want you around. Depression, it gets to everybody, but you know, there's always a light there, even in those dark times that you're able to see your way through and maneuver your way through all of
Well, it seems like you found your way through music, and it looks like you're in a studio. I mean, is that where you're at?
that.
It sounds like, it looks like you're in a sound studio. I see a lot of padding back there.
Oh, nah, this is all homemade right here. Like
Well, that's
me
your
and
homemade studio.
yeah, this is the home studio right here. I'm actually in my room. I have a little setup right here in the closet and just
Of
and
equipment,
um
of equipment.
and yeah, I have equipment, all of this, all the wires and
All
stuff all
right.
over the
Well,
place.
you cut costs. You cut costs, and you were able to
I
produce. And
yeah.
at the end of the day, this is what the pandemic did. It kind of forced
Hmm.
everybody to be creative, even from a technical perspective, right? So, it's all good. At least you're considerate, and you put some padding on the wall so you're not disturbing your mama.
I I hope I'm not disturbing nobody. Like we usually keep it calm here. Thankfully I haven't gotten no complaints from nobody, not even my next door neighbors. So
That,
I
so,
I think I'm thankful that they let me rock as much as I do because I do make some noise in here.
well, you're crafting, you're creating. So let's talk about Inspired by a Butterfly. I know it's already released. What can
Hmm.
people expect in their rhythms? Even though I know we're gonna give them a taste.
So what you can expect from Inspired by a Butterfly is, I call it, this is the album of growth. So from track 1 to 8, you'll definitely see growth come in from the beginning all the way down to the end. I produced at least, I want to say, 90% of the album, and then one of my good friends, my brother, his name is Patrick. He produced one of the songs on the album as well, which was actually one of the singles that came out for it, called Change.
Well, I got to tell you, I really appreciate your transparency and for being candid and just rolling with it and going with the flow, and being honest, to the utmost extent. It's real, and thank you for bringing it here to our viewers, and thank you for sharing your talent because, well, when we return, Alex Villafana is going to perform for us after the break. You don't want to miss.